bop.com to find the location nearest you and savor some crazy good Korean food served with a smile. With 5 area locations: 1100 South Fort Apache at Charleston, 7150 North Durango at Elkhorn, 4680 South Maryland Parkway, 1975 West Craig Road, and 7175 West Lake Mead Boulevard.
Vegas has Italian Ice. Philly Freeze Me Italian Ice, also known as water ice, is 100% authentic Italian ice made with authentic recipes and fresh ingredients. Philly Freeze Me is also vegan. Try a single flavor or mix it up and taste test multiple flavors like watermelon and cotton candy or strawberry lemonade and mango. It can be adult friendly with alcohol infused flavors. 2 area locations open until 8 p.m. every day. Follow Philly Freeze Me on social media at Philly Freeze Me or online at phillyfreezeme.com.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. It is Pushing the Limits. So glad you could join us. And I am excited for today. Sometimes, I show up and I'm like, this show's going to be good. But today's just going to be great. Hall of Fame Pushing the Limits show today. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun, a lot to get to, a lot to go over. Broadcasting live not only on the FM and AM dial, but everywhere else. Video streaming live on YouTube, on TikTok, on Twitter, on our Facebook fan page, everywhere. And so glad you decided to make us a part of your day. Coming up here in hour 2, we're going to be speaking with former presidential candidate and former Chicago Congressman Joe Walsh. Well, he's got a lot of strong opinions on the fact that Ron DeSantis officially announcing, or Ron DeSanctimonious, according to Donald Trump, officially announcing that he is going to be running for president. I don't know where he's doing it, on Twitter or whatever, but I wanted to read this. This is something on Joe Walsh's Twitter account. He's a great follow, one of my favorite follows on social media. I'll read it in a moment. But anyway, Joe Walsh is joining us, hour number 2. What a huge win for VGK yesterday. I got to tell you, I was surprised. Not really surprised that they won the game, but the way they won the game. I mean, you want to talk about a Dallas Stars team that was completely frustrated from start to finish. So congratulations to the Knights. Chris Maathius, Channel 8 Sports, is going to be joining us coming up in hour number 2 to talk a little VGK hockey. Could this be another sweep? We've seen it in the NBA. We didn't see it last night. Talk about that with the Celtics extending the series, but will we be seeing a sweep in this series? We'll talk about that with Chris Maathius coming up in hour number 2. As I mentioned, a lot to get to, a lot to talk about. We also are going to be going over the debt ceiling stuff. Kevin McCarthy making some statements today. We got a lot to get to. We're going to be talking about Ron DeSanctimonious, as Donald Trump says, and I figured what better person to do that with than joining me as co-host guesting. Is that a word? Co-host guesting? I don't know, but Doug Basham joining us. Doug, good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Good, Brian. Always a pleasure to be here.
Yes, and as I've mentioned on the show, and I'm happy to have you here, Guy David will be my permanent co-host starting the first week of June. So I'm also looking forward to that. And we got a lot to get to, Doug. Before
I have one correction before you carry on.
Yes.
It has long been known that the standard audience for political talk radio is, I don't want to say older, but yeah, an older, more mature audience, unless you're a Trump supporter, in which case you're just older. But I think you and I both agree that it's important to get as many young people involved in politics as possible.
Sure.
So to that end, I have decided to change my stage name.
What is it?
Heretofore, I will no longer be known as Doug Basham, which is actually my real name, not just a stage name, but instead Dougie D. Do you like it?
Dougie Fresh is. I would actually like Dougie Fresh.
That's been used.
I'm not a rapper. Yeah, but we can use it again. But Dougie D is good.
Dougie D.
Yeah, I like it. Dougie D.
Yeah.
It comes off the tongue quite well.
I'm going to post all sorts of videos on my YouTube
Cool.
page of me dancing alone in my room. It'll be awesome.
I look forward to that. Please
Our
send me
social
the video.
media numbers will skyrocket.
Please send me the video. I look forward to seeing that. This is what Joe Walsh is going to be joining us in hour number 2. Here's what Joe Walsh said on his Twitter account today. As you know, Ron DeSantis officially announcing today, expected that he's going to be running for president. Don't think he has much of a chance, but this is what Joe Walsh said on his Twitter. I think it's funny. He could launch his campaign on Twitter. He could launch his campaign on Fox News. He could launch it on Facebook. He could launch it with a big speech in a football stadium. He could launch it in his house. He could launch it with a mouse. He could launch it on a boat. He could launch it shouting across a moat. He could launch it in a tree. He could launch it sipping tea. It doesn't matter where or how DeSantis launches his campaign. The more people see of him and the more they hear from him, the less they like him. That's his problem, not where he launches his campaign. I couldn't agree with that more.
Yeah.
I think Joe Walsh is 100% right. We're going to talk more about that with him in hour number 2. But, I'm going to go into some stuff, Doug, in this hour about Ron DeSantis for people that maybe are not very familiar with him. But here's a story that I'm talking about, and this is Ron DeSantis' fault. It's about an acclaimed poem written by a woman in the name of Amanda Gorman. I think you're familiar with this story. This was for President Joe Biden's inauguration. It was moved from an elementary section of a Miami-Dade County public school after I'm not making this up, after a parent complained and after a school review, the district announced. The parent of the student, who obviously is a racist piece of garbage and a moron, probably going to his Klan meeting tonight, the parent of Bob Graham Education Center on kindergarten through 8th grade school in Miami Lakes objected to Gorman's poem. By the way, there's nothing wrong with this poem called The Hill We Climb, for which they erroneously listed Oprah Winfrey as the author-publisher. That was also a lie. They don't know what they're talking about. This is according to documents that are obtained by the Florida Freedom to Read Project. If it's not educational and has indirectly hate messages, the complaint said, adding that the poem would cause confusion and indoctrinate students. By the way, that is completely absurd. There's nothing in this poem that would do that. By the way, the same parent also made similar complaints about Love to Langston, a poetry-based biography of black poet Langston Hughes, the ABCs of Black History, and 2 books about Cuba. Complaints obtained by the nonprofit group show that as well. A materials review panel at the school declined to remove the books from the school entirely, but did decide to move the Gorman poem and 2 other disputed items. Let me be very clear on this. The poem's removal is the latest consequence of a Florida law that requires the approval of books in classrooms and grants any parent the power to complain about specific books. First of all, there are parents in society that are racist bigots. There are parents in society that are idiots. There are parents in society that are homophobic, transphobic, racist. There are parents in society that are Klansmen and Klanswomen. Let me be very clear on that. This gives those Klans racist idiots the power to complain about something and then something be removed because they are racist or anti-Semitic or homophobic or whatever else there are. There is absolutely nothing wrong with these poems, and this is a direct effect of what Ron DeSantis has done in Florida. And they want to talk about cancel culture, and they want to talk about, the woke left. No, it's the woke right. It's Ron DeSantis. It's the woke right, taking books off the shelves, attacking transgenders, attacking the gay community, any sort of black history at all. They don't want it to be taught in schools. That's wokeness. That's ignorant. And that's racist. And that's homophobic. That's what wokeness is, not what people are doing on the left. Yeah, you can find a few people on the left that take it a little bit too far. Sure, no problem. I don't want those teachers out there. But this is what Ron DeSantis would look like if he was the president of the United States. This is what the country would look like if Ron DeSantis was the president of the United States. Now, I want to go through a lot of other things, Doug, but I just want to get your thoughts on this story specifically, which I think is so absurd that some stupid MAGA parent complained about this, and the school says, oh, okay, we're going to get rid of that poem.
You made a good point about some people on the right taking it too far, and I've made that point before, and I've said we're not real good at slogans. We're more nuanced and like to expound our views rather than reduce them to 10-second sound bites and bumper stickers. But the element of this, and you alluded to it, is what I've called for years rampant, reeking Republican hypocrisy. Mm-hmm. They're so against cancel culture, unless it's something they want canceled. And the other thing, you mentioned some on the left take it too far. On the right, it almost seems like a bad remake of the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers. They all think with this one brain, and they take it to extremes, and they look for things and invent things they can complain about. Yeah. And again, you're right about Ron DeSantis. And I said this the last time I was in here with Michelle. He is not going to translate well nationally. No. He's not a people person, and a lot of politicians aren't, but at least they know how to fake it. Right. DeSantis can't even fake it. He's not a people person. He has less than zero charisma and, as they say, gravitas. And I don't think he's going to translate nationally at all.
Well, he's getting belted in the polls. And I want to just give a few facts because some of you people that say, look at the wonderful job that Ron DeSantis has done in Florida. Look at the way he handled the vaccines and COVID and this and that. Well, let me give you some actual real facts, not opinions, but facts on what Ron DeSantis has done to the state of Florida. Let's start here. Let's start with taxes, okay? The state's tax revenue comes largely through sales taxes, which fall hardest on poor and middle-class families. A 2018 study showed that Florida had the third least equitable tax system of the 50 states. In the state's upside-down tax structure, the poorest 20% of Florida families paid 12.7% of their income in taxes, while families whose income were in the top 4% paid 4.5%. Do we see how ridiculous that is? That's why we're having so many issues in this country economically, because we keep giving tax breaks to the rich and punishing the poor. That's what Ron DeSantis would look like in this country. By the way, Florida taxpayers get less for their money than residents of many other states. That's just a fact. Florida is one of the 10 states that have refused to expand Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act. Public schools, let's talk about that because Ron DeSantis wants to talk about parents should have voices, and he talks about public schooling all the time. Let's give a little bit of facts on how those public schools are doing in Florida. First of all, Florida ranked 49th in the country for average teacher pay in 2020. Let me repeat that. 49th in the country. If Ron DeSantis wants to play this tough game of talk tough on, we need to take care of our kids and our schools, then why are you not taking care of your teachers when they are one of the least paid in the country? I wonder what Ron DeSantis would say about that. You're not taking care of your teachers. How do you expect them to take care of the kids? It makes absolutely no sense. They found also in a 2021 report that the state had the 7th lowest per pupil funding in the country as well. Why would you want that person to be the president of the United States if you care so much about education? Makes no mistake, doesn't make any sense at all. Florida continues to languish toward the bottom of the state rankings, assessing the quality of health care, school funding, long-term elder care, and other areas key to a successful society. But this is the guy that's number 2 in line in the Republican Party. Should we be surprised? Florida may be the place where woke goes to die, because you hear that from Ron DeSantis all the time, right? He's very fond of saying that. But it's also where teachers' salaries go to die. But you won't hear him talk about that. What about unemployment benefits? They're stingier than in any other state in the country, and wage theft flourishes with little interference from the DeSantis administration since he's been there. Back in 2021, DeSantis campaigned against a successful ballot initiative to raise the state's minimum wage, which has been struck at $8.65 an hour. Can you tell me somebody that can make a living on $8.65 an hour? Under DeSantis's watch, the Sunshine State, not exactly been a worker's paradise. No, not exactly at all. But it has been great for privileged Americans. Welcome to Republicans today. Rich, wealthy righties getting their shake. What am I talking about? What are you talking about, Brian? Let me give you some more facts. It has no income tax for individuals, and its corporate tax rate of 5.5% is among the lowest in the nation. An investigation by the Orlando Sentinel in late 2019 revealed the startling fact that 99% of Florida companies paid no corporate income tax. No corporate income tax. Make no mistake about it, in 2024, as the elections draw closer, you're going to give DeSantis the opportunity to accomplish nationally what he did in his own state? Sure, you could find a couple good things that he did. I'm sure you could. But these are really important issues that you'll never hear Republicans talk about. You want to talk about DeSantis, what a great governor he's been in Florida. This is a travesty. It's disgusting. He refuses to raise the minimum wage. They're 49th in the country at paying teachers livable salaries. I mean, tax breaks for the rich.
I know.
The top 20%, the poorest in Florida, are the ones that are feeling the brunt of all this. And this is the guy you want to be the next president of the United States. You all must be very proud. These morons like Victor Jocks, the right-wing bias buffoon who writes for the Review Journal, who, I don't know, he has some weird fetish for Ron DeSantis. He'll never talk about those issues that I talk about.
No, of course
Never.
not.
Never. It's mind-boggling, Doug. It's mind-boggling.
Well, you mentioned the teachers' pay. Here again, we see a clear demonstration of rampant Republican hypocrisy. His supporters would say, well, why should we pay our teachers more when they're just indoctrinating our children with woke ideology? And yet, when they had to stay home during COVID, oh, my kid can't go to school. Tyranny. Yeah. And it's like, well, you can't have it both ways. Either they're indoctrinating your kids and you don't want them to go to school, or you're happy that they're staying home. You can't be sad they're staying home when you claim they're going. I mean, it's just, you know what I'm saying.
I do. This is an unlikable guy. This is a guy who's not personable. He doesn't have empathy for people. He likes to attack the media left and right. He has no chance to defeat Donald Trump. Forget about defeating Joe Biden and the Democrats. He literally has no chance defeating Donald Trump unless Donald Trump is convicted of a felony before the elections. He has absolutely no chance. And the sad part about it is this is the number 2 guy in line. The number 1 guy in line in all the polls is Donald Trump. You Republicans must be so happy. You must be so proud of yourselves.
Well, they
number
are.
Number one is Donald Trump. Number 2 is Ron DeSantis. Then we sprinkle, some of these other people. If Carrie Lake ran for president, she'd probably be beating Ron DeSantis in the polls. That says all you need to know about the Republican Party today.
You asked the question, why would people want someone like Ron DeSantis to be president? Same reason they want Trump to be, and why DeSantis is saying the things he is. Right now, he's trying to out-hate Trump among the far-right base, the MAGA base.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
And
Yep.
they'd be quite happy. And I'll bring this up. I'd like to bring this up with Joe. They're quite happy if they get an authoritarian dictator wannabe, as long as he goes after the same people they hate.
Yeah, I agree.
The woke crowd,
Yeah.
the trans crowd, the drag crowd, the black crowd.
Yeah, we can ask Joe about that. I think that's a very good question. So rarely do I ever agree with Mike Pence, because I think he is just a blowhard idiot.
Squish.
He's an idiot. He's a guy who brown-nosed Donald Trump for 4 years, even after, at the hands of Donald Trump's words and lies about the election, hang Mike Pence. Even then, Mike Pence still says, I was proud to be, beside Donald Trump, because Mike Pence is just the worst.
Have you ever noticed how
he's just the worst.
You ever noticed how the MAGA base has emulated Donald Trump? You and I have talked many times about how loyalty with Trump goes one way.
Yeah.
There was no one who kissed Donald Trump's flabby ass more often than Mike
right.
Pence in the 4 years he was in the White House with him.
I agree.
And yet, on January 6th, hang Mike Pence. I mean, they turn like that. The loyalty, again, goes one way.
Now, listen, Mike Pence is such an idiot that if he's going to criticize anybody on the right, then he has to immediately play whataboutism and then criticize somebody on the left. That's what Mike Pence does, because he's not capable. But I will say, in this soundbite, for the most part, even though he plays whataboutism after criticizing Ron DeSantis, because that's what he does, because he's a two-faced clown. But I will say I agree with the sentiment that Mike Pence is trying to say in this clip. This is Mike Pence criticizing Ron DeSantis, even though I don't think he says his name specifically, but we know what he's talking about when it comes to Disney and going after big companies. This is what Mike Pence had to say about, what Ron DeSantis did with Disney. Have a listen to this.
And I just don't believe it's in the interest of the people of any state for a government to essentially go after a business that they disagreed with on a political issue. I disagree with Florida moving against Walt Disney. I disagree with California moving against Walgreens because they're going to obey the law about abortifacients in some 20 states, so they're going to cancel a $120 million project. Look, at the end of the day, the business of America is business, and I'm not terribly surprised to see Disney canceling a $1 billion contract that's only going to harm people in the Orlando and Florida area, and it's one more reason why, as a limited government conservative, I've said for months now that I think both sides ought to stand down, take the victory for parents' rights in the legislature, and move on.
All right, so first of all,
Squish.
First of all, it wasn't Florida that went after Disney.
Exactly.
It was Ron DeSantis and his administration. Now, Mike Pence doesn't have the capabilities of showing the fortitude of being honest. This wasn't Florida that went after Disney. It was Ron DeSantis that went after Disney. That's number one. Number two, he is 100% right about this $1 billion contract. The reason why Disney is backing out of this $1 billion contract, which is a big boost to the Florida, it would have been a big boost to the Florida economy. It would have created a ton of jobs. The reason why they're not doing that is because they're sick of Ron DeSantis and the way Ron DeSantis has taken over in this sort of dictatorship kind of way. So I'm glad that at least Mike Pence brought that up, because it is a very valid point. The reason why Florida is going to be losing so many jobs and losing this $1 billion deal is because of one person and one person only. It's not because of Florida. When Mike Pence says it's because of Florida, it's because he doesn't want to say it's Ron DeSantis. This is because of Ron DeSantis. And if this happens in the state of Florida, what makes you believe that it wouldn't happen throughout the country if he's the president of the United States? Now, I agree. I don't like what Governor Newsom did with Walgreens, even though we can disagree on what they were selling or not selling in a Walgreens store when it comes to the, abortion. Even though we can disagree, they're still a private company, and I didn't like what Governor Newsom did there. So I do agree with Mike Pence as a whole. Government should not interfere in private business unless they're breaking the law. Walt Disney was not breaking the law when Ron DeSantis decided to tax them, because Disney came out and decided to be honest and say, hey, we don't like this Don't Say Gay bill. We don't discriminate, which Walt Disney, by the way, had every right to do, and they're on the right side of this, by the way. And then Ron DeSantis, Mr. DeSanctimonious, to use Donald Trump's terms, decided to tax them. We can disagree with Walgreens as well, and we can disagree with their practices and what they're selling, but they're a private business. It's a slippery slope, and we can't go down this pathway. And to be fair, both sides, it's got to stop. It's wrong. It's got to stop unless they're breaking the law. What Ron DeSantis has done with Disney is disgusting. It's what a dictator would do.
Oh, and again, it's Republican hypocrisy. They're all for capitalism unless it's something they don't like.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the hypocrisy is just mind-numbing, and they don't see it. Yeah. It's like, well, do you understand that you're being hypocritical? Well, no, because they're wrong. They shouldn't be doing. I mean, they're just idiots.
It really is, and it's funny because this is the party that calls themselves Law and Order, but then when they lose in a courtroom, they say it was a biased judge. They're the party that attacks people that they claim are woke, cancel culture, yet they're doing it left and right. They're the biggest hypocrites on the planet.
Oh, and they went after people like me for what I thought was a typical stupid Democratic talking point. As I said, we're not that good at it. Defund the police. What do they want to do? Abolish the FBI. Hello, is that not defunding the police?
You're absolutely right. You hear so many Republicans the last several years talking about, Democrats, they wanted to fund the police, and Marjorie Taylor Greene's
comments. And a lot of that we
yeah.
brought on ourselves because that became a talking point, and very few people stepped in, nor did they have the platform or megaphone from which to do so and say, no, reform the police is better. Defund the police is stupid. Don't use it.
And we're going to talk to Joe Walsh about this later on, but, DeSantis is, I guess, going to be announcing his presidency alongside Elon Musk, of all people, which I find to be quite interesting.
I about had it with him. How about you?
Well, listen, this is a blowhard gazillionaire.
But to spend $44 billion to become the world's #1 troll?
Yeah, I mean that's really what he did. And DeSantis is going to be making the announcement today. And let me be very clear on this. And I would not have said this 6 months ago, but I'm going to say this today. Ron DeSantis has no chance becoming the next president of the United States. I would even go as far as to say if it's Ron DeSantis versus Joe Biden would beat him.
Oh, yeah.
Ron DeSantis' poll numbers have continued to plummet week by week, and Joe Walsh is right, and we'll talk to him about this later. As people get to know Ron DeSantis more and more, they get to know him, the human being of who he is. They dislike him. I'm not talking about Democrats. We all know Democrats dislike Ron DeSantis. A lot of people in the middle are not big fans of Ron DeSantis. But I'm talking about Republicans. Mm-hmm. When you look at these polls, as much as many of these Republicans today dislike Donald Trump, they still pick Donald Trump over Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
Of all the legal issues that Donald Trump has and all the drama that Donald Trump brings to the table, the overwhelming majority of Republicans on a 4-to-1 ratio right now, if you look at a lot of the polls, would still rather choose Donald Trump right now over Ron DeSantis. What does that tell you about Ron DeSantis' chances of becoming the Republican nominee, let alone the next president of the United States?
Well, as hard as he is trying to out-hate Trump, he hasn't succeeded yet. Although you watch, and I've contended this for a long time, that Trump will not be able to run. Not when Jack Smith and Fani Willis get through with him. They will switch to DeSantis like that. Right now, they're putting him down. They'll switch to him like that because he's the next one. He is the most authoritarian dictator wannabe-ish one next to Trump.
Well, I agree, and it's really sad. Listen, I wish Joe Biden wasn't running. I've said this time and time again. I wish Michelle Obama would run. She would wipe the floor clean with anybody on the other side. A very intelligent woman, very well educated, and well liked among a lot of people.
She's Barack's wife.
Yeah, I understand a lot of people on the far right who might happen to be racist pigs wouldn't like her. I get that. But the overwhelming majority of people in the middle, and certainly people on the left, but people in the middle, she's a very likable person and a relatable person. She worked hard in her life. She's not an elitist. Yes, they have money now. Yes, they're living their good life. Barack Obama was president of the United States. Can you find me a former president that's not living a good life right now? But with
Plus
that,
the fact Michelle Obama is real. She was on some show a couple of weeks ago, and she said, do you know that for 10 years of our marriage, I couldn't stand my husband? I mean, that's real when you come out and say something like that.
Well, I like her.
Of course, the panelists were like,
I like Michelle Obama. I always have. I like what she did when she was first lady, even when it comes to, giving children nutritional tips and helping them with meals and helping the poor. I like Michelle Obama a lot. When I think of Melania Trump, besides showing her body naked, which you're allowed to do, what else is she known for doing in her life besides building a few tennis courts and taking down all the beautiful flowers in the White House? What did Melania Trump do when she was the first lady? What did she do? What did she accomplish besides not sleeping with her husband? Well, that's a big accomplishment, by the way, because we know all the sexual predator that Donald Trump is. She wasn't the victim, I guess, of a sexual assault. Thank God for that. But, I mean, what did Melania Trump do when she was the first lady? Besides wear that stupid jacket, I don't care to you, or whatever the hell it said.
Yeah.
She's an idiot. What has she done in her life?
but apparently she can say anal costs 605 different languages.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a big Melania Trump fan. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up the phone lines. And we got Doug Basham in studio. And here's my question to all of you, and I want to get your thoughts on this. You can like Ron DeSantis. You can dislike Ron DeSantis. I want to hear from you, and I want to know, why would you vote for Ron DeSantis? Why would you not vote for Ron DeSantis? DeSantis is expected to make the announcement today that he is going to be running for president of the United States and trying to attack all the people who are woke and attacking Democrats. So I want to open up the phone lines now, and I want to ask you that question. What do you make of Ron DeSantis? Do you think he poses a serious threat to not only Donald Trump, but to the United States? Or if you're one of those people that would vote for Ron DeSantis, I want to know why. I mean, there's people out there that are big Ron DeSantis fans. I want to know, what is it about Ron DeSantis that you like or dislike? The number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to join the conversation, anything me and Doug have talked about here in this first segment, most of it being Ron DeSantis, please give us a call. 702-221-7283. That's 702-221-SAVE. If you want to be a part of the conversation. We're going to dive more into this when we come back. We're going to bring up Tim Scott, putting his name in the hat, so to speak. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the other candidates that are running as well. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this with your phone calls. Again, that number, 702-221-7283. Be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines, beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable day bed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit SapphirePoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement, and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554. All right, welcome back, everybody. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. John Ralston will be joining us on the show tomorrow, by the way. The Independent, Nevada Independent. I love John. And the big 7-footer Paul McKeskey will be joining us in studio as well.
Ooh.
Yes.
Am I doing the co-hosting thing right?
I know you're very excited, Doug. I know that excites you. You know what else excites me? I was over yesterday. I had a lot of fun at Jackson's Bar and Grill. All the local celebrities came out, friends of the show. Kathleen Dunbar, who is a very funny comedian. I saw her at Jackson's last night, and she is going to be showing up to Sapphire on Friday, so that is going to be a lot of fun, along with blackjack card-counting legend who's been in this show before, Anthony Curtis. He was at Jackson's. He's going to be showing up at Sapphire on Friday, and I got a couple more big guests lined up. DJ Ashby, he couldn't make it a few weeks ago, formerly of Guns N' Roses. He's going to be showing up on Friday. So is the best Trump impersonator on the planet. He is paid by the Howard Stern Show just to be Donald Trump. He's done this show before. He is a brilliant comedian and impersonator. John DiDomenico will be joining us at Sapphire at the pool. I'm sure I'll get him to do a little bit of Donald Trump on Friday as well. That's going to be a lot of fun.
You know, it would have been a lot better if you didn't say that it was John and just say...
Well, he's not going to be in makeup. I'm not going to make him do that at the pool on a Friday. No.
That would be hilarious.
I can't afford him. I can't do that. But John will be there, and he is hilarious. If you're wondering, yeah, we're at the Sapphire Pool. You all are invited. On Friday, we do the show live out there from a cabana. Man, do they treat us good. They're so awesome out there. 12 to 2, we're doing the show live on Friday. A few weeks ago when we did the show out there, we had American Idol William Hung singing She Bangs, She Bangs to porn star Evan Stone. It doesn't get any better than that, ladies and gentlemen. It was a lot of fun, and we're going to have some more fun on Friday, so it's going to be a good time. But speaking of Jacksons, yeah, all the local celebrities were out there last night. We were watching the Knights game, the Pass the Puck contest. Today happens to be Wednesday, Doug, so if you're into the slot machines, they have a great promotion this month. On Wednesdays, if you earn 200 points, you get to spin the wheel for a chance to win up to $3,000. And then if you earn another 300 points on Wednesdays, you get to spin the wheel again. And then on Fridays, if you earn 1,500 points, you get $100 in free play put on your card the next day. So please check them out. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. It's a great place.
I'll try and get there, but you misunderstood me earlier. I didn't say I was into slots. The word was sluts.
Oh,
so,
I understand. I understand that.
But I'll try to get there. And slots, is it?
Yeah. So you're saying you're into Melania Trump. Oh, I'm sorry. That was just a horrible joke. I didn't mean that, Melania. I'm so sorry. But because I'm sure you married Donald Trump for his lavishly, good looks. Anyway, the number to call is 702-221-7283. And the reason why we're opening up the phone lines now is because, Ron DeSantis is announcing today, maybe holding the hand of the gazillionaire himself in Elon Musk, but he's going to be announcing that he's officially running for president of the United States. I wanted to get your thoughts on that. I wanted to get your thoughts on Ron DeSantis, negatives or positives. Maybe there's people out there that are going to be voting for Ron DeSantis. So that number to call again, 702-221-7283. Want to hear from you. Let's start off with John. John, what's going on, man?
Dougie D.
In the flesh. Moo.
Doug, I don't know, man. You're a substance guy. That other D character, he was all sizzle, no steak. If you catch my drift. Hey, man. If you're a Republican and you want to pick a fight with Mickey Mouse, go for it, partner. If you want to run against Donald Trump and run headfirst into that wood chipper, go for it, partner. I said a long time ago, I went to Costco a while back, and I bought 44 boxes of popcorn. So I started off with 88 bags of popcorn, and I blew through about a quarter of them with the defamation trial. And I'm going to have to go get 2 more boxes because that Carol lady is going to sue him again. And Trump is dead to rights on the documents case.
Oh, absolutely.
He's toast.
Yep.
And this is something people don't realize. The death penalty could be on the table if he sold nuclear secrets to foreign countries. And would you put anything past Donald Trump at this point? So just sit back. It's finally starting to happen.
All right,
Trump's going down.
Hold on. He's not. Donald Trump ain't getting the death penalty. Let's be realistic here. Could he possibly go to jail? I think a lot of people would consider that to be a stretch as well. The important thing is that he gets convicted on a felony, which hopefully he will. And I'm not talking about the Stormy Daniels case. He could be convicted of a felony there. I don't know. But we're talking about you're right, the unclassified documents. Did he sell secrets to foreign entities? I guess there's always a possibility. I hear what you're saying. But I think it's going to be probably unlikely. I think he's an idiot, and what he did was he thought he could do what he did. He thought he could send classified documents, leave them from the White House. He still thinks in his mind that he didn't do anything wrong. He's an idiot. He's a moron, and he probably gloated and bragged about the secret documents and probably showed them to some of his friends to brag. That's what I think he did.
But keep in mind, we just learned within the last day or so that Jack Smith has been checking into Trump's financial transactions with 7 different foreign countries.
Yeah.
And don't forget, at the CNN town hall, did you show any of these documents to anyone? Not really. What kind of an answer is that? Not really.
He did.
It's either yes or no. And then when she pushed him on it, he said, well, not that I can recall. Of course he did.
Yeah.
He would have done it if for no other reason, out of ego.
Yeah.
But
That's
when we
something that you
know
would
that
remember. Yeah.
when we know that the only God he worships is the almighty dollar,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he sold them at all.
John, before we let you go, what are your thoughts on Ron DeSantis putting his name in the hat today?
But first of all, just clear up on Trump. If he gets tried, first of all, Jack Smith is a badass, and he just got 50 pages of Trump's lawyer's notes. Is there anything worse in the world that the defendant could have as his lawyer's notes being turned over to the prosecution? Trump's own lawyer, Ty Cobb, said he's likely to go to jail. So if this gets folded into under the Espionage Act, The death penalty is on the table. With regard to Ron DeSantis, he's a clown. He's just a little man who wears high-heeled shoes who picked a fight with Mickey Mouse. He ain't going nowhere. Bring it on. Bring it on.
I think. Thank you for the call, John. I'm with you 100%. I appreciate the phone call. Thank you. Ron DeSantis is the guy that many Republicans would hate reading books to children. Ron DeSantis would probably be that guy with the high white boots that John was talking about, Doug. Right?
By the way, I have a soundbite I want you to listen to, Brian. John just brought it up, and I want you to comment on it. It's the one by Ty Cobb.
So explain, before we play the clip, who is Ty Cobb? Tell it to the listeners.
Ty Cobb is one of Donald Trump's former lawyers who was very miserable and downright antagonistic to anyone who dared speak anything negative about Donald Trump.
And this is what Ty
He
Cobb,
was also a hell of a baseball player.
And this is, yeah, he was. This is what Ty Cobb had to say about Donald Trump's legal troubles. Have a listen to this.
It's interesting also, Ty, that you're saying obstruction, but that you also think they could choose to go further to include espionage to make the point. So what do you think the actual charges will be, and in them, would Trump be looking at jail time?
So I wouldn't, if it was me, based on my own prosecutorial career, I would not necessarily expand the case to try to prove the Espionage Act piece of it, because there's so much evidence of guilty knowledge on the espionage piece that all they really have to do is show that Trump moved these documents at various times when DOJ was either demanding them or actually present, that he filed falsely with the Justice Department, had his lawyers file falsely with the Justice Department an affidavit to the effect that that none existed, which was shattered by the documents that they then discovered after the search, and the many other misrepresentations that he and others have made on his behalf with regard to his possession of classified documents. So I think this obstruction case is a tight case. And yes, I do think he'll go to jail on it.
Well, whether he goes to jail or not, I don't know if that's going to happen. But he's in a lot of trouble. But it's amazing to me, and I talk about this, Doug, on this show almost on a daily basis, that when you think of what the Republican platform is today, or at least what the big faces of the Republican Party enjoy talking about today, whether it be on, joke of news stations like Newsmax and OAN or even Fox News. They talk about transgenders. They are obsessed with transgenders. And they talk about it every single day on every single show. The Matt Walshes of the world, they're just bigots. And they have their own personal issues when it comes to transgenders. So they talk about
it's that invasion of the body snatchers hive mind.
Yeah.
Look at how they went on about Bud Light. Every single person, Bud Light, Bud Light. I mean, it's like they have no independent critical thinking skills left whatsoever.
And if you listen to Nikki Haley and just some of the comments she made yesterday, she would lead you to believe that Nick Mulvaney is the reason why teenagers are committing suicide.
And she might have a point.
It's just unbelievable. So, they'll talk about transgenders. They'll talk about Joe Biden being in the bunker. They'll talk nonstop about the border, which is certainly an issue, but I didn't hear them talking about the border when Donald Trump was president.
No.
I didn't hear them talking about the border much when George W. Bush was president. It's very ironic, and they only want to talk about the border. And by the way, when they say the border's wide open, that is a lie. The border's not wide open. Yes, there are a lot of people crossing the border illegally, but the border is not wide open like they will lead you to believe. The same reason why they'll lead you to believe that Democrats are taking all your guns away. But they'll talk about the border. They'll talk about how transgenders are going to ruining the country. They'll talk about wokeness, cancel culture. But they don't have anything of substance to talk about. And if they do talk about something that's an issue, they don't have any solutions. They don't have a replacement plan for Obamacare. They have literally no solutions for ending the mass carnage of gun violence in this country. And when they do try to come up with their own ridiculous right-wing buffoonery solutions, their solutions are, let's give AR-15s to kindergarten teachers. Let's harden our schools. Okay, that's probably a bad idea, but what about the gun violence everywhere else? And then they'll say, look at all the black-on-black crime in Chicago. I say, okay, what about it? What are you going to do to fix it? Democrat leadership. Okay, then what are you going to do? What is your answer, you dopes?
Yeah.
You Republican dopes?
And the saddest element of this whole thing, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, the saddest element of this whole thing, what you brought up, is that their supporters don't demand any solutions. As long as they are trolling and owning the libs and hating the same people they do, they don't give a continental damn about solutions. Evidenced by the fact that Marjorie Trader Trash 8 Toes Green won re-election in Georgia by 31 points. This gal has less brain cells than most amoebas. 31 points she won election by? Yeah. She isn't even a good troll. She's an idiot. And they love her. And I get a lot of emails from right-wing sites, and I frequent them. Just, you got to keep the enemy close. There are people that are begging Trump to pick Marjorie Taylor Greene to be his vice presidential nominee. What does that tell you?
Well,
they don't give a damn about policies. It's all who hates the most, who's the best troll.
Yeah, it's
pathetic.
despicable. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene just said yesterday on Newsmax that she wants to reform the FBI. I'm going to talk to Joe Walsh about that coming up at the top of the hour. But I think it says all you need to know about people. Forget about whether you're a Republican or a Democrat for a moment. It says a lot about you, the human being, when you would want Marjorie Taylor Greene to be the vice president of the United States. We can all disagree on policy, right? We could all have a good-spirited debate. Nothing wrong with it.
If they had any, we could disagree.
Right. And I try to say that with people, right? And many people are not willing to do that with me. Many people on the right these days. But it says a lot about who you are as a person when you would support and vote for somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a despicable human being, a horrible person. Lauren Boebert is another one. Jim Jordan is another one. Matt Gaetz. These are despicable human beings.
Marjorie, I feel threatened by Jamal Bowman.
Yeah. Kevin McCarthy has no backbone. He is spineless. And now, they're trying to figure out what the debt ceiling situation. And that's another issue that's going on right now. And it's incredible to me that Kevin McCarthy, even in his statements today, in speaking in front of the media, says things that he would have never said under Trump's leadership.
No, of course not.
And it's what do you make of where they're at
right now? They
passed
the debt ceiling 3 times when Trump was president. We didn't hear any of this quote-unquote malarkey that we're hearing now. I hate to use the phrase, but it's so appropriate. Rampant, reeking Republican hypocrisy. Donald Trump said at CNN, you should default. Since then, he has said, if Republicans don't get everything they want, they should default. Let's listen to what he said back when he was president.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting clip because going under similar circumstances, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, and you can introduce the clip, Doug, but this is Donald Trump when he was president, right? Talking about the debt ceiling.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, this is
when it was time to raise the debt ceiling when Trump was president.
Here's what Donald Trump had to say back then.
I can't imagine anybody ever even thinking of using the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge. When I first came into office, I asked about the debt ceiling, and I understand debt ceilings, and I certainly understand the highest rated credit ever in history and a debt ceiling. And I said, I remember to Senator Schumer and to Nancy Pelosi, would anybody ever use that to negotiate with? They said, absolutely not. That's a sacred element of our country. They can't use the debt ceiling to negotiate.
That's what he said back when he was president. This is what he said at the CNN town hall with Caitlin Collins.
It's my girl, Caitlin Collins.
When it comes to your documents, did you ever show those classified documents to anyone?
Not really. I would have the right to.
That was the wrong clip, but we get what he was saying.
You once said that using the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge just could not happen. You said that when you were in the Oval Office.
That's when I was president.
So why is it different now that you're out of office?
Because now I'm not president.
He just admitted what a colossal hypocrite he was. Yeah. And what do the tools in the audience do? They clap and applaud. Again, they care. They know nothing about policy. Oh, look at how cute he's admitting what a hypocrite he is. It's okay when he's president, but now, no, I love this guy. I mean, you got to nuke him from space just to be certain. Serious. And by the way, that audience there, if you look at it, those cameras were trained on the Trump humpers. if you look behind, there were some people in that audience that were absolutely disgusted with that orange trader.
I agree.
But that's not where the cameras were focused.
Right. If you listen to right-wing radio, any of the right-wing buffoons nationally, I don't even try not to even pay attention to some of the local idiots in Las Vegas that do right-wing echo chamber radio because they're talentless clowns. But if you listen to
anybody I know, Sanchez.
If you listen to some of the national shows, for example, like a Sean Hannity or a Mark Levin, any of these types of people, all they're doing is, number one, they're defending the guy who put the Michael Jackson impersonator in a chokehold for 8 minutes. They're defending him, and they're calling him a hero. A white person kills a black person, they must be a hero, according to Sean Hannity and Mark Levin, without even knowing the laws or the facts. That's number one. They defend Donald Trump ad nauseum with all of his legal troubles. They defend him ad nauseum nonstop. They attack the Biden administration nonstop. Do they ever actually talk about real solutions? They talk about Hunter Biden's laptop, and yet when we keep hearing about Hunter Biden's laptop and, who was he talking about when he said the big guy, there is zero evidence that they have. For years they've been talking about this. Literally zero evidence that Joe Biden committed any crime. And they'll say, the Russian collusion hoax, right? They'll talk about that like it was some sort of hoax. First of all, the Russians interfered in our elections because they wanted Donald Trump to win. That is not up for negotiation. That is a fact. If you want to talk about...
But see, that's the right emulating Trump again. Trump makes the Russian investigation all about himself, ignoring the fact that half the report was Russia interfering in our election in order to help him win. The investigation was not a hoax. That investigation, what was it called? Crossfire Hurricane. That began when Trump was president under his attorney general and his Department of Justice.
Yeah.
Everybody forgets that. Well, that's election interference. We heard diddly squat about Crossfire Hurricane until after Trump had won the election. So to claim that was election interference is nonsense. The other investigation, the Mueller investigation, again, was started by his attorney general, Rod Rosenstein, after he admitted on TV he got rid of James Comey because of Russia, Russia, Russia. He admitted it. And for people to say, it's debunked everything. Really? If there was nothing there, why did Robert Mueller find 10 instances of obstruction of justice? Why do you go out of your way to obstruct an investigation if you have nothing to hide? But again, we're talking to people with a hive mind who don't have, two nickels to rub together in the way of common sense.
It's amazing to me, again, I talk to Republicans on a daily basis. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Yeah.
Would vote for Donald Trump in a heartbeat over Joe Biden.
Sure.
They'd vote for Ron DeSantis over Joe Biden. And listen, I understand. Joe Biden is, not the perfect president. He's old. He's not my first, second, or third pick. I've said the negatives and positives of Joe Biden, and I've been very honest that I don't want him running in 2024. I don't want him running. There are others that I think would be a better president. It's not because I think Joe Biden is a horrible person, because I think he's a decent man.
He's just too old.
Yeah, he's just too old, and we need somebody a little bit younger.
And what gets me is when the people on the right say, well, gas was 8 cents a gallon under Trump. Well, number one, it wasn't. Number two, there was no demand because
under Biden,
of COVID.
Yeah.
You're
talking about under Trump when they say it was like $3.
Yeah. And the bottom line is, I don't care what they've allowed their media to brainwash them into believing came good from Trump's presidency. But the bottom line is, Joe Biden or any other Democrat would never try to overturn an election that they admitted to their own chief of staff, Mark Meadows, they lost, and destroy our electoral process and our quote-unquote democracy. So I don't care what you think Trump did good. He is a traitor to this country who tried to destroy the very fabric and foundation of it, and still is. And if you're too stupid to see that, nothing we can do. And many of you are. Like Gas Man.
Yeah.
Gas Man.
I'm not even
Doug
going to pay attention
Basham
to
needs
that.
a shower and a haircut. Haircut fair, shower
So
I did this
I don't even
morning.
give people the time of day that do stuff like that because, again, just trolls. I don't pay attention to stuff like that, and I don't care. But the bottom line here is this. There are still a percentage of people in this country that are still MAGAs.
Yeah.
There are a percentage of people in this country that are sadly racist. They're hateful people who go after the trans community, go after the gay community, go after minorities. If you bring up January 6th, they immediately want to bring up as they would call the summer of riots. They want to immediately bring up Black Lives Matter. This is what, it's very simple. Right-wing echo chamber radio, this is what they do. Let's talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. Let's talk about how Joe Biden has dementia, even though we're not doctors. Let's talk about how we know everything about COVID, yet we have no medical experience at all. Let's talk about how the election was stolen. Let's talk about election integrity, even though there's zero evidence to point to the fact that there is widespread voter fraud.
And did you hear what Jim Bag Jordan said to Maria Bartiromo on Fox just a couple days ago about an investigation he's thinking of opening into Hillary Clinton? I kid you not. I kid you not.
8 and by the way, Hillary testified under oath. Donald Trump has never done that.
No.
8 investigations into Benghazi led by Republicans. They found nothing, and now they're finding nothing on Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. Do we see a pattern here? And for all of you that want to say, what about the Russian hoax, the hoax that Republicans say, it wasn't a hoax. Russia interfered in our elections. They couldn't find sufficient evidence to prove that Donald Trump was in cahoots with the Russians. But what we do know is that Russia interfered in our elections, not because they wanted Hillary Clinton to win, because they wanted Donald Trump to win.
Yeah.
And there were at least 10 examples in the Mueller report of some sort of crime that Donald Trump could have committed, but not enough sufficient evidence to rise to the level of convicting him or suspecting. I'm trying to use the language that Mueller used here.
Right. Well, the 10 instances of obstruction.
Correct.
Mueller said could be prosecuted after he left office.
Right.
He said the only reason he didn't indict Trump was because of a DOJ memo saying you don't indict a sitting president.
Right.
Which is nothing but a memo somebody wrote to protect in the DOJ to protect their.
So for
their
anybody
president.
that says the Mueller report was all nonsense, again, there you go. It was not. And
here's something I don't understand. Mueller said he didn't investigate for collusion because that's not a legal term.
Yeah.
He said what he looked for was conspiracy, which he defined as either a tacit or express agreement. Well, when Donald Trump's own campaign manager gives sensitive internal polling data to a Russian intelligence agent, and then Don Jr. has a meeting with people he's told represent the Russian government, and it's all in support of his father's campaign. How is that not some, and he says, I love it, let's do it. How is that not some kind of agreement?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see the next year and a half, Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump trading blows. As John the caller would say, get the popcorn out. That should be very, very interesting. Someone else who's very, very interesting, former presidential candidate, former congressman out of Chicago, Joe Walsh, never afraid to share his opinions on anything. We're going to ask him about Ron DeSantis. We're going to ask him about Tim Scott. We're going to ask him about Donald Trump. Also, later on in the show, very sad, Tina Turner passing away today at the age of 83. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Chris Maathius from Channel 8 will be joining us, Channel 8 Sports, break down the big win for VGK yesterday. We got a lot more to get to. Doug Basham in studio. Take a break. Be back right after this with Joe Walsh. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines beware. go, Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable day bed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part, though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit sapphirepoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement, and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. So glad you could join us. Doug Basham in the house, guest hosting with me. We got John Ralston, by the way, coming up tomorrow from the Nevada Independent. And the 7-footer Paul McKeskey talking a little hoops tomorrow. But, you know, I always love mixing up with this guy. It's one of my favorite podcasts. His podcast, White Flag with Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh joining us right now. Joe, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. How are you?
Brian, I'm good. Good to be with you both, everybody.
Very, very busy day, news day today. Of course, Ron DeSantis officially announcing that he's putting his name in the ring, so to speak, to become the, at least to attempt to become the next president of the United States. You've been very outspoken on Ron DeSantis. What are your thoughts on him announcing it and the way he is doing it today with the gazillionaire?
I think it's weird. But I know DeSantis, and I think he's kind of a weird dude. So it makes sense, I guess, to announce like this. I mean, you're announcing that you're running for president and you won't let anybody see you. Hello. That's strange.
It is. It's very strange. You're right about that. It's interesting because you, like I said, you've been very outspoken about this. I mean, you went on Twitter today and you said, DeSantis doesn't even deserve to beat Trump because he's too afraid to even say Trump didn't win in 2020. To this day, you're right. He has not admitted that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election.
But here's the deal, Brian. He's not alone. See, this is the freaking trap that these cowardly Republicans have all put themselves in. This is why the nomination is Trump's. And this is why Trump's going to be the nominee. I mean, Donald Trump says the election was stolen. If you're Ron DeSantis and you say it wasn't stolen, you're done. Donald Trump was indicted. He said a witch hunt. If you're Ron DeSantis and you say it wasn't a witch hunt, you're done as a Republican. All of these Republican challengers have to echo what Trump says, or the base won't vote for them.
Why is it, Joe, that you think that his poll numbers have been dropping by the minute, right? I mean, I know we've talked about this a little bit before, but his poll numbers have been dropping and Trump's numbers continue to rise among Republicans. Why do you think that is?
So for the last year, I hear from Trump and DeSantis supporters every day. Every DeSantis supporter I've heard from is a Trump supporter. And they've all told me, I love Trump, Joe, but maybe DeSantis can win. I've heard that over and over. Well, DeSantis has been out there for 3 or 4 months now, and the more people have gotten a look at him, even Republicans, they don't like him. I do know Ron DeSantis. He really isn't very good with people. That's important. The other factor, Brian, is that, look, Trump's whole thing is I'm a victim and the deep state is going after me. And look at all these Democratic prosecutors going after me. I think that strengthened Trump's support.
That makes sense. Tim Scott just announced the other day that he's putting his name in the ring as well. Seems like he's been the guy that's been brown-nosing Donald Trump for 4 years. In his speech the other day, all he did was attack Democrats and made it seem like the Democrats are the race baiters. What do you make of Tim Scott, and what do you make of him in his attempt to be the next president?
Personally, I like Tim Scott a lot, Brian. I served with him. He's a really good guy. But he doesn't have a freaking prayer to be the nominee. Tim Scott went out there and he presented kind of like an optimistic morning in America kind of a thing. Bull crap. That's not where this Republican Party doesn't believe in morning in America. They don't believe in freedom and hope. They believe in darkness and carnage. That's where my former party is, which is why the nominee is going to be Trump or somebody who's as much of a bully as Trump. And the only other one that's come close to that is DeSantis.
So where does Kari Lake come into this equation, right? We know that she lost another court case the other day. Here we are in May in 2023, and we're still talking about the 2022 elections and how she lost. But a lot of people are saying that Trump may pick somebody like a Kari Lake, may pick somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I agree with you. I think Donald Trump will be the nominee, but who do you think he picks as his VP?
I think he really wants to pick a woman. I wouldn't be surprised if he picked a Kari Lake. I mean, think about it, Brian. Donald Trump is the biggest sore loser in human history. I want to say that again. He's the biggest sore loser in human history. Kari Lake's in the team photo when it comes to sore losers in human history. Trump loves that. I don't think it'll be Marjorie Taylor Greene. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Nikki Haley. I think a lot of these Republicans who are running, Brian, they're running to become VP or they're running to position themselves post 2024.
Joe, Doug Basham here. I got a couple questions for you. First of all, I had you on as a guest once when I sub-hosted for Brian. And when I called to book you...
I remember that, Doug. That was a way better show than any of Brian's shows.
I agree.
And when I called to book you, I had the pleasure of speaking to your lovely wife. And she was friendly. She was professional. She was so nice. I got off the phone and I said, man, Joe Walsh married up. Would you agree with that, Joe?
Oh, my God. I have no business marrying whom I married. Yes. But second time around, it took me 2 marriages, 2 tries at it.
Okay. Second question. A lot of people talk about Trump's MAGA base being brainwashed and they believe his lies, like the election was stolen. I dispute that. I contend that many, if not most of them, know that Donald Trump is exactly who and what you, Brian, and I know he is: a sociopathic, malignant narcissist, a pathological liar, and an authoritarian dictator wannabe. I submit they just don't care because they don't care about his authoritarian dictatorial inclinations as long as he goes after the people they hate. And do you know a Jesse Kelly, a right-wing talk radio host?
I sure do, yeah.
Yeah, he just tweeted yesterday, let me tell you all an uncomfortable truth. This country needs a dictator. As the great John Adams said, a free country only works for a moral people. We are not worthy of freedom. A dictator is coming. I mean, they're not even hiding it, Joe.
No. So I'll answer it like this. You're right, but I'll dispute an aspect of what you just said.
Sure.
The Republican Party base has been telling me for 5 or 6 years now just that. They want a dictator. They want an authoritarian, a strong man to give them back the America they want. What Jesse Kelly said the other day is exactly where the base is. That didn't surprise me because I hear that every day. The party base has given up on democracy. They want a dictator. But I'll dispute you on this. No, the vast majority of Republicans I've spoken to since the 2020 election, just on that one, genuinely believe the election was stolen from Trump.
Just insanity. I call those people flat earthers. What do you make of what Jim Jordan and the Republicans are doing in these House committee meetings that are public, where Jim Jordan seems to be making up his own rules and they're trying to make claims about whether it be the FBI? You just had Marjorie Taylor Greene say that the FBI should be reformed. You have Jim Jordan and these Republicans that seem to have no evidence that Joe Biden committed any crimes, yet they still want to talk about Hunter and Joe. It seems to be a sham. You have some Republicans that want to go back and reinvestigate Hillary Clinton. What do you make of what's going on right now to the party that considers themselves the law and order party? What do you make of this?
Hey, Brian, it's what you and I talked about in the fall. We said if the Republicans take back the House, it's going to be 2 years of revenge. Yeah. And that's what this is. This is revenge for how these people, my former colleagues, believed Trump was treated. So they are going to, and they are investigating every aspect of Joe Biden and the Democrats. But Jordan is they're running into some walls here because there's not a lot of evidence for a lot of this crap. That's a problem they've got.
No question. And, you worked with guys like Jim Jordan. You know a lot of these people. Kevin McCarthy, another one. You said on Twitter, quote, "I know McCarthy. I serve with McCarthy. He doesn't believe Democrats are socialists, but he must remain speaker. So he must keep Marjorie Taylor Greene and the other MAGA members happy. So he must say blank like this." I mean, and I agree with you. And you feel that way, right? That McCarthy just says things and does things so he could keep that seat.
I know Kevin McCarthy well. He has no core. All he wants is to stay speaker. End of story. So he'll let Marjorie Taylor Greene and everybody over this next year and a half tell him what to do. And he's done a very good job so far. I got to admit, Brian, of sounding like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jim Jordan. Yeah. The folks on the right in the House who I've privately spoken with, they're happy with what McCarthy's doing. Bad for the rest of us, but good for McCarthy.
I want to ask you, on your last podcast, you had a great interview and you were talking about the subway. I consider it a murder. I know that you don't. The chokehold on the Michael Jackson impersonator. It seems like everybody, maybe not everybody, but most people on the far right, which you obviously are not, but most people on the far right are calling this guy some sort of hero. And then a lot of people on their left are calling it murder, even though I'm not technically on the left. I think it was a murder. I don't think this guy, just because you shout crazy things or you say, "I don't care if I die," doesn't give somebody the right to use deadly force, which is clearly what happened here. Why is it so many people on the far right are defending this guy who put him in a chokehold and calling him a hero? I don't understand.
Well, so I'm going to bribe my friend. I'm going to both side you.
Okay.
What pisses me off about this thing, and I had that conversation with Touré, great guy,
right,
is we rush to judge this thing before we know the freaking facts. I mean, the minute we found out about this, people on the left were saying murderer, AOC did that, and people on the right were saying hero. We didn't know squat about what happened. When you say murder right away, that's really serious, Brian, because that's a legal term. That means.
Can I tell you why?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me sorry to interrupt, Joe, but I want to tell you why. And I agree with you. People rush to judgment, but here's what we know. This guy that is dead now had no weapons on his person. He never made a direct threat to anybody. He never made, according to witnesses, never physically touched anybody. Just because you say, and the worst thing he did was maybe public disorderly conduct when he said, "I don't care if I die today. I don't care if I spend the rest of my life in jail." That's not a reason to put your hands on somebody. But here's what, in my opinion, makes it murder. He didn't just put him in a chokehold. He didn't just tackle him to the ground for 20 or 30 seconds and put him in a chokehold. It was for 8 minutes. 8 minutes he put him in a chokehold. It reminded me of Derek Chauvin after George Floyd was pretty much dead and wasn't breathing. Derek Chauvin still kept his knee on his neck. Why is this guy keeping him in a chokehold for 8 minutes? That's where I think it turns into murder. Tell me why you.
So what we know, Brian, and we found this out 2 or 3 days after the event when the coroner's report came in, the actions of Daniel Penny killed Jordan Neely. Daniel Penny did kill Jordan Neely. I concur with that. But when you say it was murder, technically that means Penny intended to kill him. Manslaughter means it was reckless, but there was no necessary intent there. A trial, Brian, will bring this out. The other thing I'd say is, look, if the DA, Alvin Bragg in New York City, thought there was a decent chance that he could get murder on Penny, he would have charged him with that, but he charged him with second-degree manslaughter, which is a whole different thing.
That's a good point you brought up, and I do bring up the Zimmerman Trayvon Martin case. I think they went too far in charging Zimmerman with murder. I think they probably could have got him with manslaughter or involuntary manslaughter. That's a very good point that you bring up, and maybe Penny's not a murderer. Maybe you're right, but I think we all could agree a crime was committed there, right? Would you agree with me?
No. We know what we can say. What we know right now, Brian, is we know the actions of Daniel Penny killed Jordan Neely. So there's going to be a trial. He gets his day in court. And what if a jury finds him innocent of a crime? Then what do we say?
Well, we have to live with it, but I think it would put a very dangerous precedent moving forward, because basically what our justice system, or in this case, is saying to society is, just because you feel threatened and just because somebody says a few crazy things, does that give you a right to take out a gun and shoot somebody? Does it give you the right to physically have a confrontation with somebody and put him in a chokehold for 8 minutes? Of course not. Joe, you and I, listen, you were a congressman in Chicago. You know, you've been around some crazy people on the subways from time to time. But Joe, I would assure that you didn't put your arm around somebody's neck for 8 minutes. You see somebody crazy, they're not making any physical contact with you. You either ignore them or you know, right?
But Brian, my brother, and I love you like a brother, we don't know, we really don't know specifically the facts. I'll give you this, Brian. It sure looks like there wasn't a huge threat there, but I want to believe that that will come out in a trial. But again, these things suck because it's a horrible thing all the way around.
Right.
Jordan Neely should not have been killed. Jordan Neely should not have been on that subway harassing people. Jordan Neely should not have been hungry and homeless. I mean, there's so much going on. It just sucks all the way around. I just hate it when on social media, we all pounce. We go to our corners and we pounce before we know the facts.
And I don't disagree with you, but here's something that frustrates me a lot. And it happened after George Floyd, and it still happens today. They talk about this guy Neely's past. Oh, well, he's been arrested 42 times. We know that George Floyd wasn't a great guy. But all that matters, all that matters is the moments before, leading up to the incident, and the actual incident itself. This guy could have been arrested 1,000 times, or he could have been working in a soup kitchen, never been arrested at all every day. It doesn't matter. But so many people on the right who want to defend this guy who killed him, want to say, well, listen, this guy was a bad guy. Where was his family then? Those are the comments that get me so upset.
None of that matters in this case. Freaking men. Agree with that. But Teray and I, Brian, got into the notion of civilian vigilantism.
Right.
I don't know. I'm riding on a subway. If I feel I'm threatened or some of my fellow passengers are threatened, I'd like to believe that I'd intervene to protect other people.
Sure.
So there are times, I think, when civilians are justified intervening. I don't know that this was one of them.
If this guy had a weapon or he was making physical contact with somebody, I would call this guy who put him in a chokehold a hero. The reason why I'm not saying that is because there's no evidence to that effect, but you're right.
Even this, maybe Penny was justified subduing him, putting him in a chokehold, but then once you had him subdued, let him go.
Exactly. Exactly. I couldn't agree more. And this is a logical conversation. But again, if you listen to the Sean Hannitys of the world or the Mark Levins of the world, Fox News, OAN Newsmax, they all point to the fact that this guy's a hero. And if I was on the subway, I would have wanted him to do the same thing when they don't talk about the actual facts.
Hey, Brian, I will never defend what my fellow right-wingers do with this case or any other case. I agree. And I know people hate both sides-isms. But man, when AOC and a lot of others came out right away and called this murder right away, that's every bit as irresponsible, I think, right away.
I don't disagree with you. You make a good point that it's probably not murder because he probably didn't intend to kill this guy. I'm willing to believe that, but I still believe that is a serious crime that was committed, and we'll have to wait and see where this goes. I got to ask you about Chicago, Joe, being a former congressman out of Chicago. What is going on with this new mayor there who has said some really idiotic things just over the last few weeks? I don't think he's going to do anything at all to help the violence in that city and the people that are struggling there, the gang violence. I just think this is a really, really bad guy that was elected, and he's not going to be helping the situation out there.
So you know what's happening in my city of Chicago? People are leaving. Anybody who can leave Chicago is leaving because, Brian, as you said, this new mayor, who's a uber progressive, has pretty much, he ran on and has said two things since he got elected. I'm going to raise taxes on damn near everybody. And you know what? I'm going to cut the police budget. Now, no matter where you stand on those two things, that's going to concern a lot of the populace in that city. And Brian, the exodus out of that city is going to continue. And the more people who leave Chicago mean the people who remain in are just going to end up paying more in taxes. It's a vicious cycle.
Joe, you mentioned earlier that you believe that Donald Trump will be the QOP candidate. I disagree. I don't think he will even be allowed to run once Jack Smith and Fani Willis get finished with him. I mean, we just learned that his lawyers sent a letter requesting a meeting with Garland. That would make you think that an indictment is nigh. The fact that Jack Smith has been getting his financial transactions with 7 foreign countries, the fact that on the CNN town hall he said, not really, when he was asked if he'd shown the documents, I don't think he's going to be able to run. Why do you think he will?
Well, because technically he could run, if he's indicted 2 or 3 or 4 times. I think, did I lose you?
No, we got you.
Okay, good. I think he's going to be indicted down in Georgia. I think Jack Smith is going to indict him for the classified documents. I think he's going to be indicted for January 6th for inciting that insurrection. But here's what else I think. Each one of those indictments is going to strengthen him among Republican voters.
Yeah, I see.
What if he is indicted for espionage?
Man, deep state, witch hunt. The most persecuted person in American history. All of the base will say.
Yeah, I understand where he's going with that.
Wouldn't that preclude him from running? Because even if they get him on espionage.
Well, 2 things. If he's indicted for espionage, say in a few months, he'd be on trial during the campaign. So nothing would happen until after an election. And by the way, if he got reelected, he could just pardon himself.
I tend to agree with Joe on this one, Doug, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Doug, I want to, or I should say, Joe, I love your podcast, White Flag with Joe Walsh. Any upcoming guests that you'd like to share with us? Because I thought your last episode was awesome when you were talking about this subway, whether it be murder or manslaughter. It was just a really good conversation. I learned a lot from it. What do you got coming up?
I've got a really cool conversation next week, Brian, and maybe you disagree with me on this. The NAACP put out a travel advisory for Black folks to stay out of Florida. I think that's silly and counterproductive.
Agree.
But I'm going to get into a real good discussion with a woman on the left who believes it was a damn important thing to do. But the point is, and this is why I love your radio show, Brian, because everybody thinks you and I are good buddies. We are. We disagree on most stuff. We disagree on most issues. This is what America needs. That's why I love this radio show.
I love you, Joe. And boy, that's going to be a good conversation. Believe it or not, we agree on that, though. I thought what the NAACP did was absurd. You can disagrry with Ron DeSantis. You can say what you want about him, but don't put out a travel advisory. That is way over the line. There's a lot of good people in Florida that would probably disagree with that as well. Joe Walsh, you are the best. I love you, man. I'm still waiting for you to come out here to Las Vegas, steak dinner on me, okay?
Not until you promise me tequila, a lot of it.
You will have it. You will have it. I will get you the Sammy Hagar tequila. He gave it to me personally. So,
Thank
all right,
you,
Joe. Take care, Joe. Love you, man. Joe Walsh, White Flag with Joe Walsh is a phenomenal podcast for a lot of different reasons. First of all, he's smart, he's honest, and he's right. We don't, even though I think we are friends, we don't agree on everything. We certainly don't agree on abortion.
But you agree on a lot.
I think we agree on a lot. We don't agree on abortion. We don't agree on control issues. We certainly agree with, people on the far right today. I love Joe, and I would beg to say that we have a lot in common. Basic policy issues, we probably had a lot more not in common maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Remember, Joe Walsh was a big Donald Trump supporter. That has changed over time. And when Donald Trump won, and remember, you're talking to the guy who, while I didn't like Donald Trump in 2016, I didn't vote for Donald Trump in 2016. I also didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. So I thought when Donald Trump was elected, I was rooting for him, and I thought that he'd probably be okay. And I remember the moments when he went into the White House and he met the Obamas. He was a subdued Donald Trump. And on that day, I said to myself, maybe this is going to work out. Maybe he's going to be all right.
I never said that.
Well, I did. I did. And I was wrong. But back then, I didn't know what I know now about this despicable human being, this traitor and this criminal. And we're going to have to wait and see how this thing plays out. But I love Joe Walsh.
Oh, I do too.
I always have loved Joe.
Joe is the best.
Yeah, he's honest, sincere, and extremely intelligent. I wish he would run for office again.
And he's right. He did marry up.
Well, that's cool. I've never spoken to his wife, but doesn't surprise me. Joe's a really smart guy, a very successful guy. And I didn't know he liked tequila, so now I got a gift going his way. But no, he's really cool. I wanted to mention this before we take a break. This is really sad. And the first time I saw Tina Turner, I was with my family, and I think I was like 17, 18 years old, and I was blown away by her talent, her charisma, her energy on stage.
Oh,
she
moves.
was so great. Yeah. And so many great songs, and a legend, and in her craft. I mean, how many hits did she have? I mean, it's hit after hit after hit. But what amazed me about her, she had this persona with her hair and the way she danced and moved around on stage.
Yeah.
She was so energetic on stage. And she even if you didn't like a song, you'd be dancing because she had so much energy. And I loved so many of her songs.
And the story of abuse that she rose above.
And I love the fact.
Ike-itis.
I love the fact. I hate that stuff happened to her, but I love the fact that she was able to talk about it publicly because I know she helped a lot of other people along the way by being open and honest about that.
Sure.
What an amazing career. Very sad to say on the air today that Tina Turner has passed away at the age of 83. She lived a great life.
Yep.
She passed away at the age of 83. What I understand, according to TMZ, she was in her home. She died peacefully in her home in Switzerland. I didn't even know she lived there.
I didn't either.
She had a long illness. I don't know what that was, but passing away peacefully at the age of 83. Her music lives on forever. God, we've been losing a lot of legends the last couple of years. It's legend after legend after legend. We've actors, actresses, musicians, and it's just it's sad whenever we have to announce one that we've lost again. I don't know if it's just me, but I just feel like, and listen, we always lose famous people and celebrities. It happens every year. Sadly, It's a part of life. But I feel like when we lost Kobe Bryant in his early 40s and his young daughter and all those wonderful people that were taken too soon on that, I just feel like everything changed. That's when COVID started, and we lost a lot of young people. And this has happened throughout my life. I'm not saying it didn't happen before Kobe, but it just seems like we're just losing so many people by the day. Famous people, influential people. But anyway, that's here nor there.
And the sad thing about the story of life is the older you get, the more it happens.
Yeah, it does seem that way, doesn't it? Maybe that's just me and I'm not realizing that. But
because when you were in your 20s, you didn't know the legends in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
That is
in their 60s, 70s, and 80 years of age.
Very, very true. I met Tina Turner once. I was fortunate enough to meet her. Andre Agassi used to do this huge charity event at MGM Grand, and I was lucky enough to meet so many wonderful people. I interviewed, for example, Jerry Seinfeld, people like that. And Tina Turner walked the red carpet, and I was able to have a few moments with her and ask her a few questions. Her smile, her energy, and she must have been in her mid-70s at that time, and I was able to talk to her, and her energy was just through the roof. And that's when I met her and I interviewed her, even though it was only a few minutes. That's what I got from that interview. Wow, I can't believe her spark and her energy. She's done so many interviews, and I said
Did
to myself...
she give you the big grin, the big smile?
Oh, yeah, she gave me that big smile, and I said to myself afterwards, that's what...
You were in love.
I was in love with her personality and what she... Just in a very brief interview, her charisma and her energy and talking about the charity she was at, and she was a very charitable person, a wonderful person. So anyway... thoughts and prayers to the Turner family, a living legend. Her music lives on forever. Tina Turner dying at the age of 83 in Switzerland, and she will never be forgotten. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Doug, we got to talk a little VGK hockey, baby, because I was even surprised at what happened in Dallas last night.
But see, that's why they brought in Bruce Cassidy.
Yeah.
They wanted a more focused approach on defense.
Yeah, well...
And, every time... Dallas has got some speedsters. They can zoom up the ice like that.
They do.
But Vegas is just getting in their way, stripping them of the puck. And it's so frustrating, but it's awesome on Vegas' behalf.
Yeah, and we'll definitely talk about that when we come back. And, a lot of people in Dallas not happy with Pete DeBoer and the embarrassment of what they did yesterday. We'll take a quick break. Chris Maathius from Channel 8 will be breaking down with us the game last night. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines, beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable day bed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit SapphirePoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Gwynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement, and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554. All right, welcome back. Boy, that music gets me going, right?
Pow!
We could be looking at the Stanley Cup Finals very soon. Vegas Golden Knights destroying the Dallas Stars yesterday in an embarrassing fashion, by the way. I will go that far. Embarrassing fashion. Pete DeBoer and his group, the fans are not happy. Well, I don't know. Is this true? Do we have... somebody's calling in. Am I told that... wow. Am I being told Pete DeBoer is Pete DeBoer on the line right now? Coach DeBoer, seems as though your team was completely embarrassed last night in a shutout by the Vegas Golden Knights in virtually what was a must-win game. Coach, what happened out there?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Wow. That's unfortunate. That sounds like when Pete DeBoer was asked about the lackluster power play when he was the coach of the Vegas Golden Knights. Anyway, joining us, we're having a little fun. Joining us right now on the line, I love this guy, Channel 8 Sports. They do such a great job over there, and we have Ron Futrell on all the time. But today, Chris Maathius joining us. Chris, thanks for coming on, my friend. How are you?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think Pete DeBoer knows a lot of things right now on how to beat the Vegas Golden Knights, Chris. What happened last night? I mean, that was, I use the term embarrassment, right? I mean, the Dallas Stars, and obviously you got to give a ton of credit to the Knights, right? But the Dallas Stars were awful last night. A lot of that due to the Knights. But what happened out there last night?
You know, you used that's a good term there, Brian, embarrassment, because not only the team embarrassed, but the fans embarrassed themselves as well with what happened in that third period, or end of the second, actually, throwing crap onto the ice, throwing popcorn on Aiden Hill when he comes back out onto the ice for the third. Just, I mean, in fact, even the president of the organization released a statement this morning talking apologizing basically to all the fans, and that's not who we are, and this and that. But yeah, you're right. The team was embarrassed. The fans embarrassed themselves. And some of those fans who threw crap onto the ice. That's dangerous when you think about all that stuff going on. And then scoring those 3 goals in 7 minutes, 7:11 or whatever of the first period.
Right.
I mean, you're right. It was over. And then Jamie Benn with that boneheaded mistake, or not a mistake, with that boneheaded play where he chops down with a cross check on top of Mark Stone, and then puts his stick down on his neck, and says today that he fell. He didn't fall. I mean, that's a lie. You call a spade. Yeah. Let's just say that he made a boneheaded play, got tossed, game misconduct. He should. Well, I guess we'll find out a little later this afternoon. I'm still kind of waiting for word. I haven't heard yet on whether or not he'll be suspended.
It should be.
Yep, I think he should be suspended a game. I would think. Let's hope he is, because that's very, very. That could have ended his career.
By the way, Chris, Brent, he did this to Alex Pietrangelo. This wasn't the first.
He spat on it.
Yeah, this wasn't the first time. He's a dirty player, and even worse, he lied. He didn't fall. He was trying to hurt Mark Stone. By the way, thank God Mark Stone got back up, and he's good. But what a disgusting display of a lack of. Listen, we understand hockey's a very physical sport. There's going to be cheap shots here and there, but how do you make it's not a mistake, a boneheaded, idiotic decision like that, to do that.
Especially when you're the captain of
right.
the team.
You try to hurt somebody.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, by the way, your team's down 2-0. It's virtually a must-win game. You're the captain. What are you doing? What is going through his head?
Yeah, and then not only Ben, but how about later in the game, Max Domi for the cross check and roughing, a 10-minute misconduct against that cycle. I'll tell you what, these guys, they got rattled so much. The Knights took them completely out of their game by doing exactly what the Knights wanted to do, and that is play their game. Don't get involved in the chicanery and all that crap that they were doing. Just play your game, and that's what they did. And I love the way Bruce Cassidy all season long has talked about that. We got to stay out of the box. We got to keep a level head. And yes, they'll stick up for their guys. Of course, the Knights will. But I'm glad they didn't get involved and caught up in all that mess.
I was worried, Chris, in the third period. I was saying to my friends as we were watching the game, I said, boy, I hope nobody gets really, really hurt in this game. They won the game. We already know what the outcome's going to be, barring a miracle. We don't want to see any key players get hurt, and they didn't. But you mentioned let's call a spade. Let's do it, okay? The bottom line is Cassidy is, in my opinion, a much better coach than Pete DeBoer. Pete DeBoer is a good coach. His teams win a lot of hockey games that at times go deep in the playoffs. Cassidy is a better hockey coach. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, I like Cassidy. I've liked Cassidy from the beginning. That was a great hire. I mean, I guess who knows exactly the reason behind the hire, but when you go back to when he was hired and they let Bruce or Peter DeBoer go, Cassidy's available. You know what? It was probably a tough decision. All the injuries and this and that, and Peter DeBoer did a decent job with what he had to deal with those injuries. But if a coach like Cassidy comes available, because for whatever reason Boston decides, hey, we can't have one or two bad seasons, we've got to get rid of the coach, and he comes to Vegas, that was a great opportunity for the Vegas to hire a good guy, and I think they did. I like Bruce Cassidy.
Yeah, I think he's done a fantastic job. He's honest. The fans like him, and his mannerisms and the way he coaches this team in some ways are very similar to Gallant. Gallant, honest guy, fans love him, players respect him. Pete DeBoer hasn't always had the best relationship with some of his players when he was here in Vegas, when he was at San Jose. I get the sense that the same thing is happening in Dallas. By the way, there's a video of Ben walking to his car after the game. He didn't talk to the media. That's the definition of a coward. You should own what you do, admit you made a mistake, and then we all move on. And DeBoer said after the game he wasn't going to give it to Ben too hard because he already admitted that he made a mistake to him. But to me, that's not enough. I think your coach needs you don't want to have to throw your players under the bus, but when you see a play like that, I think it's really bad. Let's talk about Game 4 now. I thought that to start Game 3, you would get Dallas's best game. Boy, was I wrong. Dallas was terrible, and a lot of that is Vegas Golden Knights. But now we go to Game 4. Do you feel like Dallas now, they're playing for pride? I mean, you got to get one game in Dallas, don't you? I mean, yeah, and you feel like this is the toughest game for the Knights to win just because a closeout game is always a tough one. What do you see happening here in Game 4?
Well, here's what I think will happen. I think they'll come out, the Knights will be laser focused like they have been in the other games. And you think about this series too, hockey is such a unique, different sport where one mistake here, one mistake there, one opportunity here, one opportunity there, and the entire outcome could be different. Really, when you think about it, the Dallas Stars could have had, with a little luck on their side, a 2-0 lead heading home to Dallas. I mean, you think of the first game in overtime, they score, you're thinking, oh, no, because the Knights kind of control the thing. Now we're going to go into overtime. Well, the Knights win the game with a nice, shot from behind the net, and it bounces off their goalie and it goes in. Then in Game 2, you're thinking, oh, shoot, we're running out of time. The Knights are running out of time, and then, bam, the goal at the end. By the way, what a beautiful assist by Jack Eichel on that goal. So anyway, they get this thing into overtime. You're thinking, well, in overtime, anything can happen, but the Knights score, so they have the 2-0 lead. And then you're thinking, well, Dallas is going to give them their best game in 3 because they've been right in both those games. They've got into overtime. Ironically, how crazy that all these series, NBA and NHL, have got into all these, these crazy scenarios where sweeps and all that kind of stuff.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, Chris. I'm glad you brought that up because, the other series, the Eastern Conference Finals, Carolina Hurricanes were favored of the last 4 teams left, at least when these series started. Carolina was favored to win the Cup, and Florida has taken the will out of them in a quadruple overtime game, which felt like 2 games. And then they win in Carolina in another overtime game in Game 2. They win 1-0 at home, and it seems like this series is also virtually over. I don't think anybody would have, even though Florida has been a really good team for the last several years, they've been very good. They've been a little bit under the radar. Really, really good hockey team. I don't think anybody would have said it's going to be the Florida Panthers versus the Vegas Golden Knights.
Well, think about that. Let's take that even a step further in terms of how crazy sports is right now. The Denver Nuggets sweep the Lakers.
Yep.
Miami could have swept the Boston Celtics. I mean, it's just a crazy year. You know, getting back to that, the sweeps and the numbers and so forth, teams that take a 3-0 lead as the visiting team have a 97.5% chance of clinching that series. So Vegas has a real good chance. Now, if they take a 3-0 lead in the final round, which it is right now, the Western Conference Final, if the team that takes a 3-0 lead is 46-0 in NHL history of winning that series. Now, overall, how about this one? Overall, all the postseason, the teams that take a 3-0 lead are 204. So just 4 times has a team come back from a 3-0 deficit to win a series. So Vegas, it looks like they're going to advance on to their second Stanley Cup final in, 6 years?
Yeah, it's
pretty cool stuff.
Very cool. They seem like a team of destiny, and I remember year one when they took a 1-0 lead in the Stanley Cup Finals against the Capitals. They had to deal with a guy by the name of Alex Ovechkin. That Washington team was just a better team. I'm going to tell you, right, as well as Florida is playing right now, the Knights are the best team left right now. I think they're a better team than Florida. I think they're a better team than Carolina. They're certainly a better team than Dallas. I didn't say that when they played the Capitals. Yeah, when they took a 1-0 lead, I said to myself, wow, they could actually win this thing. But the Capitals were just the better hockey team. I think they're the best team left.
And you know what? Going back to the little mistakes there, little opportunities there. Remember in that series against the Capitals where Alex Tuch should have scored that goal and it hit the stick of who was the goalie? I forget his name. But then you go into you go back to Washington D.C. Remember the Knights hit the post 5 times in that game 4. See, it's just hockey. That's what makes hockey so great, is you never know. But one thing we do know, the odds clearly favor the Knights to get past the Dallas Stars.
It's going to be a fun couple weeks. Chris, before I let you go, the Las Vegas Aces are going to be getting their championship rings this weekend. That's going to be a lot of fun. They dismantled Seattle the other day. This team is just loaded. It seems like there's only 2 teams and everybody else get out of the way, right? It's the Liberty and it's the Aces, and everybody else, forget about you. I mean, they had not a lot of parity in the WNBA this year.
No, it's definitely the Aces. And it's funny, the WNBA came down after its investigation into the Aces. And Becky Hammond suspended for 2 games and loses the money. What is it? Adds up to about $56,000. But then they said, "Hey, we're going to take away a first-round pick in 2024, whatever." You know what? No new player, no rookie makes this roster anyway. That's how deep this roster is. Remember, last year they had a first-round pick and they cut that first-round pick because it's tough to cut the roster with the Aces. That's how good they are.
Going back to that issue, listen, I wish Hamby all the best. We all know what happened there. That was spilled beans, regardless of whether some text messages and some things were said that shouldn't have been said. Hamby was not a big part of that championship team last year. She left over, I think it was cried spilled milk. That's what I personally believe. I've never heard anybody say anything negative or bad about Becky Hammond. She's a player's coach. Everybody seems to like her and love her. And I don't think anybody cares about this anymore. I mean, they're just putting it behind him, and she'll be back out there on the floor and moving on, right?
You know what's cool? I really, really like Becky Hammond. I mean, when the mic's on her, when the camera's on her in the games, you can see how excited she is, how she just loves these players and wants to win. And Popovich probably had a big deal with that as he kind of mentored her. But it's so cool. And then we were at Media Day last week, and Becky, and there's little bloggers and websites, and then us and radio and different people. She literally went around to every single outlet and blog and whatever it is, a podcast or whatever, and did stuff with every single one. I think she is really class. I think Mark Davis made a terrific hire when they got her, and who knows how long she'll be around. Eventually the NBA is going to not only come calling, but they're going to come hiring. Yeah. But it's been great to have Becky here.
Well, we already heard the Toronto Raptors got permission to interview her. I don't know specifics about that, but my personal opinion, she wins another championship this year, and this will be her last year, and she becomes an NBA coach somewhere next year. That's my personal opinion.
And good for her.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Good for her. Good for the league. Good for the WNBA.
It's great. Happens. It's great for everybody. Maybe not great for the Aces, but it's absolutely great for everybody. It's going to happen sooner than later. We all know that Greg Popovich is certainly on her side, and that's a big name. And a lot of players that have played for her, winning the NBA Summer League, being a longtime assistant to Greg Popovich for the San Antonio Spurs. She has a wealth of knowledge. She's a great coach, and it's just a matter of time. All right, Mr. Maathius. Well, always appreciate the time, my friend. Are you out there? Are they sending you out there to Dallas?
Well, we're going to head out for Game 6.
Okay.
So we'll be out there for on Memorial Day for that one. If it does go Game 6, and maybe they wrap it up in 4. Maybe here's what I would love. There's the scenario I want. I want the Knights. They might lose Game 4, but to come home on a Saturday night in Las Vegas to knock the Stars out and move on to the Stanley Cup Final. How great would that be?
And it would be great for the fans to see our former coach lose as well. I mean, all due respect to Pete DeBoer, I would personally enjoy that myself. Chris Maathius, look forward to seeing you out there, and Mr. Ryan.
Oh, by the way, did they have they assigned you a number for the Oakland A's yet? They need some help if they move to Vegas.
They have not yet.
Oh, they haven't. Okay.
No,
well,
don't have a number.
Coming.
Don't have a number yet.
Can I ask Chris one last quick question?
Sure. Go ahead.
Chris, in all the discussions about the Oakland A's coming to town, has anyone brought up or considered the element that putting a stadium at the corner of Tropicana and the Strip would just be a nightmare?
You know what? It would be, but just like everybody complained and moaned about when they built T-Mobile Arena, oh, the parking, we're never going to be able to get in. It's going to be terrible. We won't be able to park. People find a way. People will get there to the game. It'll be all spilled milk under the bridge, whatever you want to say. Once it's built and people start showing up, it's just the fact that how maybe inconvenient it might look. People who want to go will find a way, and after a couple of years, because you never hear about it now with the Golden Knights and the parking. And remember when they built that? This is going to be terrible, right in the middle. Where are people going to park? Well, they find a way.
And you know, the Raiders, they did the same thing with the Raiders Stadium. They did it where T-Mobile. Millions and millions of people flock to the Las Vegas Strip every single weekend. Yes, there's traffic, but people find a way to get by, and there's always going to be people that are going to complain. You know how it is, Chris. I couldn't agree with you more. Let's enjoy Game 4, and if there is a Game 5, we'll see you out there at T-Mobile Arena, Chris, and always appreciate the time. You guys do a great job over there at Channel 8. Keep up the good work. We'll see you soon, okay?
All right. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. You're the best. Chris Maathius, in my opinion, one of the best in the business here in covering all the local sports. Really good at what he does. Love watching them at Channel 8. I love Channel 3. Brian Salmon and Jesse also do a wonderful job, and I really love having them on as well. Yeah, Doug,
you cut me out of the picture.
Uh-oh, you were cut out of the
picture? I make
picture?
the show better just by sitting here.
Were you really cut?
You're better now.
I didn't do that. That was Numchuck.
I know. That's why
he deals with the controls.
Now he brings me back.
He deals with the controls. I have nothing to do with that.
Tropicana is one of the 2 busiest streets in the city. It is a major thoroughfare over to the airport. Given the number of home games in an MLB season, that would make traffic a veritable nightmare.
All right, let me respond to that. First of all, here's where me and Doug Basham are going to disagree on this. First of all, Harmon and Las Vegas Boulevard and that area and close to where T-Mobile is also a huge cross street. If you're a local, you take Frank Sinatra, there's still going to be some traffic, but locals find a way to get there, and I can tell you right now, even in the busiest of times, I haven't waited in traffic for longer than maybe 20 minutes. It hasn't been that bad. Number 2, if you're a local, you will understand that there are ways of crossing the Strip without having to go on the Strip. There are ways of getting around it. The real people that are going to have a little bit more traffic are the tourists or people that are taking Ubers or taxis. Locals are not going to have that big of a problem. Let's also keep in mind they're going to build, I would imagine, a huge parking facility there. There are still ways of getting to Tropicana without having to pass the Strip, and I think everything's going to be just fine, Doug. I mean, there's going to be traffic everywhere you go. As far as all the people that flock to Las Vegas every week, the traffic is nothing like L.A. It's nothing like New York. There's always construction, which I guess could be a bad thing or a good thing. But, Doug, I don't think this is going to be much of an issue at all. I think it's going to be just fine. I really do. I really do.
Well, I hope so. I thought it was brilliant putting the Raiders Stadium on the other side of the highway.
There's been, no issues there.
I thought it would have been a great idea. The land that they bought on West Tropicana or at the Rio, which is one of the original ones. But right on the Strip, I don't know. I know money talks, and they'll put it wherever.
Listen, there's going to be traffic.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's the Las Vegas Strip. There's always going to be traffic there anyway. They're going to have a state-of-the-art facility. They're going to have plenty of parking. And again, this is important. If you're a local, you find ways of getting there faster. Example, Frank Sinatra, when you get to T-Mobile Arena. If you're a tourist who doesn't know where they're going, or say you have a rental car, you'll probably take the Strip. But if you're a local and you understand how to get to certain places faster, then you'll go down Spring Mountain or Twain or whatever it is, and then you hit Frank Sinatra, and it's like 5 or 10 minutes of traffic. It's nothing. So I think it's a matter of knowing how to get to certain places, and if traffic really bothers you that much, then try getting to the game an hour or an hour and a half earlier. That's what I would recommend.
Oh, a lot of people do that, too.
Yeah.
So, you can go DI and go under the Strip and then come back, and you don't even have to see the Strip at all.
Oh, I understand that. But if you're going to the Tropicana and the Strip, taking the DI arterial isn't going to help you.
Yeah, well,
because
you
once
take
you get
DI and then you just take Paradise. It'll be a little bit.
Oh, you're talking about coming from the west side.
Coming from the west side.
It can. By the way, I wanted to announce and show my smile. I no longer look like a Trump supporter. I'm not toothless anymore. I spent some money, probably too much, but I went to the dentist yesterday, and this is a temporary. So I don't get I got something called a bridge, and I had a couple cavities. It was terrible, but I got through it. I'm lucky that I have a very good dentist. He did a great job. So I have this temporary.
Well, that would explain why you kept trying to kiss me when I got here today.
For the record, that's not true.
No, it is true. I saw it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I
Well,
saw
I
it.
got caught in a lie. I'm sorry. But Doug, you're my type. I like hippie liberals. That's my that's my fetish.
And these lips, who could resist them?
Well, I'm excited because we got John Ralston on the show tomorrow. Speaking of a straight shooter, I like straight shooters. Joe Walsh is one of them. But John Ralston from the Nevada Independent is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. He's great. So
by the way, real
quick.
getting back to the Stars, and the Panthers. Once the Panthers beat the Bruins, I said, this is a dangerous team because they weren't supposed to be there. They were supposed to be swept in 4 by the Bruins.
Yeah.
So after that, they were playing with house money.
They were.
And you can gamble a whole lot more and more freely when you're playing with house money than you are your own.
They have a veteran
and
leadership.
frightened me.
They got veteran leadership. They got a good coach. They got good goaltending. John Van Beesbroek retired many years ago, but the Florida Panthers are a good hockey team. So tomorrow on the show, we got John Ralston from the Nevada Independent going to be joining us. We got Paul McKeskey, the 12-year NBA veteran. I don't know what Doug is doing with all these weird noises.
I'm doing the young co-hosting thing.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
He's doing the Mo.
Is that what he's doing? Mo joining us in hour number 2.
That's how it's done.
The Lakers are not playing tonight. Breaking news. The Lakers are not playing tonight.
Or tomorrow.
Or tomorrow. Or the day after that. But the Celtics have extended the series at least, so I give them credit for that at least. And now that series heads back home. So we'll see if the Celtics can make this a series and win Game 5. I'm going to dinner with some friends tonight. I'm doing some poker commentary tomorrow, believe it or not. It's another reason why I got my teeth done. Doing some TV poker commentary tomorrow. So that should be interesting. Nationally televised, so that should be interesting. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. Doug, I appreciate you being here as always. You always do a great job.
Pow!
Pow! That's right. I don't know what that means, but anyway. Catalina Wine Mixer. I think you got that from Step Brothers. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody.
I heard it in one of your commercial spots.
You might have. All right, we'll see you tomorrow, folks. Have a great day.
Pow!
That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can